I'm interested because you've had all this experience with P&G and Coca-Cola and a number of other huge companies, behemoths. What was it that when you went into the entrepreneurial world?
Word. That's a good
so
word.
That's a great word, isn't it? Where did that come from? When you went into becoming an entrepreneur, the entrepreneurial world.
Yes, so different.
Exactly. Yeah. What was it that surprised you? Because even with all that experience, you must have got into the entrepreneurial world and gone, wow, this is a bit different. What was that journey like?
Being an entrepreneur and certainly being a founder is definitely not for everyone. And it's been so good to have done it and to have worked closely with other people who have done it to see what works and what doesn't. To go from, as I was, spending someone else's money very happily, massive budgets, huge control and potential, to spending my savings was such an incredibly good experience. To understand how much you can do within constraints, how to be frugal, how to be really creative with how you're spending and investing. It changes everything. And then when you go on to take different roles, whatever you're doing, you always understand what it's like to be awake at night because you're worried about paying other people's salaries, that you will do it. The highs are so high, but it is completely different. So the lovely Will King, who is the founder of King of Shaves, who I talk to lots about my book Superfast and know well. I mean, he and I talked about no matter how much pressure there is when you are a leader inside a big corporate, you cannot compare it to being an entrepreneur. It's a little bit like, until you have children, it's very hard to understand. As soon as you have children, you feel like you've moved into a parallel universe where there is a different understanding. And I do think being an entrepreneur teaches you to ask. That was one of the things I found. I've just been reading The Art of Connection, which is a great book, and there's a point in there which actually says you build relationships better with people when you ask for help, which I didn't know. It's a way of actually getting people to like you. But I find it very difficult to ask people for help. I'm independent. And once you become an entrepreneur, you do have to ask other people to help. But as I know you will have seen, and most people listening will have seen, there's this incredible infrastructure of karmic, supportive people who really want to give back. So I was supported when I was an entrepreneur by a lot of my friends who are actually entrepreneurs in big corporates. I used to run sessions with a few of my best-brained friends and bring them together for pizza and perspectives on how to build the business. And they loved it. And I still do it now with other friends who have got startups and scale-ups. It's so fun to give them perspectives. So asking people to help, then building up partnerships and learning what accelerators there are. But there are lots of things where there are parallels in big corporates and startups. Once I'd sold my business, though, and I went back into working with senior level execs in big behemoths, the super tankers, what was so fascinating was, of course, if they could learn some of the agility ability and the creativity and the entrepreneurship and the different ways of thinking, once they've got heft and money behind them, the power they have, if they go just a little bit faster and a little bit more agility focused, they also had great learnings as well. So I definitely recommend it for everybody.
Yeah. So what I think is really interesting there, so I quit my job in corporate at 27. So I only worked in corporate for 5 years from uni to starting my own business. So I didn't get to the level that you got to, but I still ran a small team, whatever. It was a cool business. And the thing that I struggled with, which is basically what you said there about asking, was about the fact that, we worked on billion-pound projects. I was running cool stuff. No one cares when you run your own business. And you have to then explain again. You should trust me because, whereas in a company, you just come in, you've got a new email, we've bought this company, can you help integrate them into our stack, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And that, I think, for people listening who are in corporate and are very high level, is something they need to be used to before it happens, if you are thinking of taking a sideways step.
It's a really good point.
Isn't it? Because I think you step out and go, okay, well, I ran this team, we had this budget, and then you realise that entire ecosystem was helping you so much. So from your level at these companies to stepping sideways, you could even say in a business, you're stepping backwards because it's really hard to do. How would you help someone cope with that?
one of the key things you discover, and I still see it now, even with, so that the Marketing Society is an incredible global community. It's a not-for-profit organisation full of change leaders. Now, some of them remain in incredibly successful roles as CMOs, CEOs, CGOs, CROs, all these places. A lot of them then move into NED roles or consultancy or startups. So we often have this discussion about how easy it is for your identity as a human at work to be linked to your role and to the brand. You know, when I worked at Coca-Cola, the power of the brand when it comes to those kind of conversations, you underestimate it until you get into it all. So I think the helpful thing at any stage, whatever you're doing, is to make sure you slow down a little bit in that super fast world to make sure you have a absolutely crystal clear sense of purpose, sense of values. You understand your own personal brand, not just in terms of how it's communicated and thinking, you know, when you talk about personal brand, everyone thinks about LinkedIn profile and how you're building podcasts and all these things, but actually your core, your own DNA, what makes you, what energizes you and who you are. Because the clearer you are about that, as soon as then the role goes or the role changes, it's easier to sell and to connect with people because you know who you are without feeling insecure. But then the point you make about you need to ask, one of the reasons that great marketers make great entrepreneurs, and I think are absolutely primed to be the ones leading the next phase of what's happening in business, as we all need to be more entrepreneurial with the tech changes and the speed of what's happening, is because marketeers are able to deal with ambiguity. They always have done. They don't have the absolute certainty of a CFO or equivalent. And because they understand how to crystallize the key messages and communicate in a way which is relevant. So as soon as you're then having to ask people, having to sell, having to create partnerships, if you're able to do the thinking about what does this person need, what do I have, what's the truth in the middle of that, how can I tell that story, how can I communicate it in a very quick way so they get what it is, then you don't need the casing around you of a big brand and a big corporate to protect you. You've got that core kernel of what really matters.
I really, really like that. And I thought you might say something like that. So the deeper philosophy around who you are rather than what you have. And I thought I'd mention that, you know, your Coca-Cola background as well, I thought was really interesting and made me think about this sort of story arc. I've become quite bored with these quick entrepreneurial books where someone writes a quick 150-page book, they're trying to sell something. And so I've gone back and I've been reading Charlie's Almanac. So Charlie Munger, who had Berkshire Hathaway with Warren Buffett, the largest shareholders of Coca-Cola stock I think in history. They still are. They've got so much, which is a nice little link across. And his book is literally about philosophy. And you think, I'm going to get some stock tips here and I'm going to get some stuff about business growth. And it's not. It's an almanac, it's a diary, right? It's his philosophical thoughts. Try saying that after 5 podcasts. About the world and how it changed into his late 80s, early 90s, I think. And it resonates with what you're saying, right? If you think the business is supporting you and it is your self-worth and you step sideways and no one cares, it's going to really hurt. But if everything aligns with your truths and the greater vision and mission perhaps you're on, you'll have much less shock and then you'll do your best work.
Yeah. Oh, I think this is so interesting because we separate out work and life far too much anyhow. And the integration of who you are as a leader makes all the difference to business success. Whatever I am, as AI evangelist as they come, I know it's going to be an incredible accelerating tool for the business moving forward. And tech has always been a fantastic accelerator. But the best leaders are those who develop really crystal clear human understanding, knowing their customer, knowing their team, building a super team. We referred to it earlier, but you know, absolutely, there's some great thinking there. And most of all, understanding themselves and where they want to go and what they want to do. So that philosophical underpinning makes all the difference. I think you've been talking to Jodie Cook, my friend. Yeah. So she and I have just been talking about the Courage to be Disliked, which is another philosophy book, great which book. Is Adlerian philosophy. I think How to Win Friends and Influence People would be one of my all-time must-reads. And that's very similar as well, that understanding the philosophy of who you are in life and where that fits with work. And great people like Buffett and everybody else do it. The other thing I love about Warren Buffett and the Hathaway side of it all is their shareholder reports, how they write them with such poetry and thoughtfulness. A really good example of how the best businesses are the most human.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Which then leads into sort of personal branding, doesn't it? Because it is so human.